For the last 3 years, between recording segments of the D6 generation, Russ, Craig, and Rafe have had various conversations that have spanned the interests of gamerdom worldwide. This is one of those conversations.
D6G, the Lost Chapters.
Let me introduce you to Kill Team Antioch.
Ooh.
They're in an automated training chamber. We have Brother Michael, the Ultramarine librarian. He's stiff, he's staid, he knows what it means to be a Marine.
He's proud.
He's proud of just about everything.
And he's hung up on blood angels and wings.
Yes.
More on that later.
Brother Bennett, the Storm Warden Assault Marine, has a giant sword that's really good for cutting more than one guy at a time down. Brother Zadkiel, the Dark Angel's Devastator Marine, never goes anywhere without his heavy bolter. Brother Typherius, the Blood Angel's Apothecary. They've got a thing about blood, those Blood Angels do.
I liked his name, too.
He was under orders to not be scared the whole time.
Yes, indeed. Brother Gareth, the Space Wolves Grey Hunter. Just your average run-of-the-mill Joe.
Yes, really.
The building block of the Space Marine chapter.
Let me ask you this. Reese,
Yes.
why did you decide to take a comlink? Was it because you modeled a cool one on one of your guys?
No. It was because, like Craig said, when we do role playing, he likes to have like a fatal flaw, and in Space Marines, how do you have a fatal flaw? So I like to pick contrary skills. So Space Wolves, what are they known for? Charging into combat and being ferocious in battle. So I picked a personal demeanor of studious, and from the very get-go, I wanted to be a tactical Marine that would assess the situation and before charging in.
Nice.
When he charges in, he's going to kick butt like a Space Marine will do. And so that I'm like, you know what? I want communications with the mothership.
Right.
And so that's why I picked the comlink, which came in very handy.
Yes, and actually there are a couple times in this adventure where you had to go, Rafe, you're doing what?
Yeah.
Okay. And then Brother Lucian, the also known as Brother Lotion,
Yes.
the
always
last
very
minute
smooth.
edition. I felt bad when I realized that I had taken every gamer out of Myriad Games on a Tuesday night, and poor Andy had been left behind. So Andy was included on that day, and he was Brother Lucian, the Iron Hands Tech Marine,
And he was
who sort of came across as a Black
incredibly
Templar.
obstinate.
Yes. Because there are no Iron Hands yet in the book.
Okay.
All right. So these men, forged in battle, brothers in arms, summoned to Lord Inquisitor Salonius. Those of you who recognize the names, deal with it. Okay. I knew nobody had actually watched any of the TV shows that I've watched recently. And if you know where the names come from, then you know exactly what the characters looked like in my head. So there you go.
I've been chomping at the bit for weeks now.
Okay.
Can I go?
Yes.
Okay, Craig comes up with this idea out of the blue. We're standing around Myriad Games. He goes, I want to run Deathwatch. I don't know why. He just said he did. And we're like, yep, Craig, that'd be awesome, because Craig creates awesome campaigns. But Craig has a flaw. Number one, he will expend a lot of time in doing it. And sometimes, although the players can have a lot of fun, Craig himself can feel a little let down if perhaps he doesn't know the rules that well, or if somebody who shall remain nameless thwarts his whole entire plan. We're making references back to when we did Rogue Trader over my birthday. So I was all excited, but I was a little bit worried for Craig. But all my worries were put aside. So I want to say on the air right now, that was the best gaming session I have been in since my Dark Heresy campaign. And I'm not saying that to be full
If I do say so myself. I run a pretty mean
I get
campaign.
what you're saying.
Well, Craig's
Fun.
almost as good as me.
I knew Russ would say that, and
Yeah.
it does come across sounding very egotistical. I don't mean on how it was run, but that one was also very much just a lot of fun. Everything came
Yeah, I
together,
get it.
and
Thank
I
you.
think everything came together for you in this one. And we've got some good
stuff.
stories to tell.
Okay, I think we do. Okay, so
there we are in the chamber.
So you were summoned by Lord Inquisitor Salonius to an audience. Your normal liaison, Inquisitor Varro, is unavailable, and he has been for weeks, and you've been sort of like, where's Varro? He disappeared while you guys were out on patrol.
And Varro liked us, you said.
Varro liked you a lot. He took you under his
Took
wing.
us under his wing. So we had a liking for Varro, right, Russ?
Yeah.
Yes.
So you were called to a large audience chamber beneath the Tower of Brass, which is a giant spire.
No, I didn't know that.
The whole thing, Antioch Nock, I believe. It's a giant space station that was built by some now deceased race and has been taken over by humans, and specifically the
Kind of like
Deathwatch.
Stargate Atlantis.
Kind of like that a little bit. Yeah,
okay.
And the Tower of Brass is a huge needle that pokes up from the middle of this space station, and that's where all the actual Inquisitors and their staff live. And so underneath that, huge audience chambers for the various Inquisitors. Lord Inquisitor Solonius is a very, very powerful Inquisitor who's there sort of as a guest. He doesn't belong in the Jericho Reach per se, but he's been brought in, or he's come in and you don't know why. But he vastly outranks everybody else who's in here. He has a huge retinue, just all kinds of warriors that are basically lining the walls, looking at you. You know Solonius doesn't like you. You don't know why.
Right.
You won't know why unless we keep playing this game.
Yeah, but I liked how you handled that too. Okay, so we like Varro, and he's gone, right? And then there's the new Lord, and he's going to be a huge dick to us. He didn't come across as that much of a dick, which I enjoyed.
Wow, we're going to just push the boundaries on the
So-
Lost Chapters, are we?
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
I think there were some issues, but we'll get to when it starts to let's do the dialogue, and we'll get there.
Okay. So Solonius has some unspoken attitudes towards you guys.
Right.
And he begins the briefing. And the briefing, as we talked about in the review of the game, breaks down into a couple different areas. First, you've got your briefing. 2 years ago, there were some irregularities began to occur embedded within regular astropathic traffic from this planet Belial Secundus, which is an
Cool name.
agro-planet. I liked it. The Administratum initiates an investigation. Outcome was inconclusive. Astropathic message seems to include screams almost and partial Mayday codes that they can't make any sense out of. A year ago, so a year of that goes by, the irregularities have continued, and the gubernatorial tithe that the planet owes to the Imperium has been affected. So now they're not giving everything they're supposed to give to the Imperium. The Administratum sends agents. Those agents are now not gone. Nobody knows what happened to them. After the agents disappeared, they requested inquisitorial intervention, and they were declined. They were denied. 6 months ago, the third request had been...
we know also he's the guy who denied it.
Yes, he did deny
He
it.
pointed out that he was the one who denied the request for help.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Which I'm already like, all right, buddy.
Yeah. So 6 months ago, a third request. So there was another request, and now the third request is submitted. This one had supporting documentation, but has since been classified. So the kill team's not allowed to see the supporting documentation. And Solonius, the Lord Inquisitor, who is Ordo Hereticus, basically they focus on witches and threats from within the Imperium. He's declined assistance, and he cited that the lack of documentation.
Although they have documentation, but they've locked it away.
Right.
Exactly, yes. Inquisitor Master Lavian of the Ordo Malleus, they look after the demons
Sketchy name
and
there,
things.
but go on.
Okay.
Right? Am I right?
Declined assistance citing the same reason. I see where you're going with that, you jerk. Okay, and Inquisitor Varro,
Our friend, our
guy.
colleague.
okay, had requested further documentation. So 3 months ago, 3 months went on, further documentation was received. Nobody knows what it was because it went straight to Varro because the other Inquisitors said they didn't care.
Right.
Okay, so nobody knows. But 2 months ago, so a month after that, the astropathic signal from Belial Secundus is lost completely.
Right.
As soon as that happens, Varro immediately leaves with his retinue for
He got a
Belial
message too,
Secundus.
we know, right? He got some kind of message. We think. Oh, no?
No.
All right.
And we knew he arrived in the Belial Secundus system, but he was the contact with him was lost immediately before he even made planetfall. We only had preliminary reports received as he was approaching the planet. We kind of got the idea that the governor, there was something weird about him, but we didn't have any idea what caused Varro to go missing. And now, so currently, as things stand, there have been several demands for information regarding Varro by the Inquisition, and they've all been denied by the planetary governor, Batiatus, via courier, because remember, there's no astropathic contact with the planet. So... Solonius
That sets the
has
stage.
given you the following objectives. Primary objective: discover the cause of the astropathic silence and rectify the situation. You got to do this because the planet it's a really important planet for producing food for local armies, and there is a crusade going on in this sector of space right now.
And this is the part, just for a role-playing note, all the players are taking studious notes.
Furiously writing.
Like, this is important.
Okay, so you've got to discover the cause of the silence, and you've got to rectify the situation either by freeing the astropath, and these are psychers that can cast their minds over many, many, many thousands of light years. It's the only way you can have faster than light communication, really. Right. Or you actually were given an astropath that traveled with you on the frigate, Gladius, to the planet. You could install him as an astropath once you found out.
So we had a spare.
Situations. You had a spare
in case it went badly.
Then you had the secondary objectives: assess the governor's, Batiatus's, loyalty to the Imperium, and ensure that Belial Secundus is in loyal hands before you are extracted.
So, assess the governor, replace if necessary. That's what I heard.
Exactly. Okay, find the missing tithe materials.
This was my favorite. 2
regiments worth of PDF recruits were missing. Foodstuffs equivalent to 5 years mil-spec rations for several regiments.
And Shifty's favorite.
And 12.5 billion imperial credits in
Mass
species.
monies. Now remember, Space Marines have no use for money. So this is not really, we don't want to embezzle this. We're trying to figure out where the money went.
Actually, this was the point where
Shifty woke up.
Shifty was like, oh, yeah, great. What are we, tax collectors?
Right.
And he tried to cause trouble with
the
Inquisitor.
role-playing moment, right?
Shifty, we got to give a picture on how Shifty roleplays. Shifty roleplays, he slouches in his metal chair. He puts his 2 hands in his pockets, and he just sits there. He doesn't like to do voices, and he waits for the battle. But the minute we started talking about the money, he perks right up, and he's like, oh, forget that. What is owed? 1.2 billion? Okay, well, we're going to shave 0.2 million. He's like, turns into a rogue trader or something in that moment.
You got to go, and Marines have no use for money. Whatever. And then,
of course,
we're going to skim that right off the top.
There you go. Then another secondary objective, you had to assess any possible Xenos taint in the area.
Oh, that got a giggle out of him too.
Giggle over and
every
over.
time.
Taint.
He's like Beavis and Butthead.
Why was taint the joke?
You don't want to know. Be blessed that you don't.
Yeah, just be blessed. You don't
although you've got to, I want everybody to picture a giant 8-foot-tall apothecary. He's got his helmet on so you can't see his face, and a giant 8-foot-tall tech marine with a huge mechanical claw over his shoulder. He's got his helmet on so you can't see his face. In fact, his helmet's super scary. And they're just giggling, so their shoulders are going up and down,
right?
and the giant servo power claws just tapping the apothecary over and over. So anyway, that happened several times. And then finally, your tertiary objective was if it doesn't cause you any trouble, and if you can do it without costing any time or effort, you find and retrieve Inquisitor Varro, go ahead.
I'm saving Varro.
So that's why we were getting upset here. So at this point, first thing I asked Craig, I said, Craig, how is he related to my direct line of chain of command? Because this
Not
guy,
Varro, but you mean
the current Lord Servius, because I wanted to give him a little piece of my mind, but I had to make sure I wasn't directly back talking to a superior. Now he's obviously outranks us, but he's not in our direct chain of command. So
right, but it would be like I told Russ, it would be like the general of a different army group than yours, and you're probably not going to give him a hard time.
So remember now, Michael, who's the librarian I'm playing, and who's based on a character I developed back when I played 40K as a little hero. His demeanor is pride. Okay, so he's very proud. So I decided my line here was going to be that. We will do what you would not, nor Varro could not.
That was a good line.
And we will
actually.
return victorious.
That's a good line.
Now set the.
How'd that work for you?
Well, they giggled. The court giggled, but we'll see what happens.
Set the player stage. Who was to your right?
Well, I don't know the exact formation of the party, but I think all of us were kind of pissed at the guy.
No, I mean real life. Dave.
Oh, Dave was sitting to my right. Yes.
So tell everybody who was there.
Well, it was just Dave and Will
that's a
and Andy and you. And is that it? Was there one other?
Yeah, no, that was it.
And Matt.
So we had
Sorry, Matt.
So Matt, our heavy bolter.
Dave was our storm warden, assault marine. Matt was our devastator of what chapter? Dark Angels.
Dark Angels.
I was the Space Wolf tactical marine. Old Andy was the tech marine. He loves playing the tech marines. And Shifty was the apothecary.
Right.
Which is very un-Shifty-like. So I was very proud of him.
Well, he wanted to be a librarian, but Russ was like, I wanted to be a librarian.
I whined about it a good bit and got librarian out of him.
So the next thing you do in Rogue Trader, what are we playing? Deathwatch. you have to choose your leader. And it was very interesting because somebody that you would never think like vied for leadership for a second, and I was like, oh, this will be interesting.
Well, it was funny because I was equipped to be leader, and Michael's probably enough to be leader, but I paused for a second, not to be like the jerky player and be like, I must be leader. So I waited, and actually nobody said anything.
Yeah, nobody said anything.
Right.
That's what I
It was
remember.
totally quiet.
I didn't feel like leading.
No, I think before it started, people were joking who's going to be the leader. But then
then Rafe actually said, I took a bunch of leadership skills, but I don't want to be the leader.
Right.
So
I didn't want to be.
because I didn't want to, and I knew my cohesion wasn't great. It was only like 5.
Right.
But I had the back banner, which added every time I spend a fate point, it adds 2 cohesion.
Yeah.
So I knew it was be okay leader, but I wouldn't necessarily be great. And I didn't know if it was going to analyze all the different leader abilities we had, and everybody's kind of like, whatever. And I was like, well, I'll be leader I will, because I'm proud, right? So I will lead if none other will, or something like that. And then everybody's like, okay, fine, you can lead a librarian.
So there you go.
That was it.
So everybody, they equipped themselves.
We took our oath.
You took your oath to the emperor.
Oh, wait. There's a very important thing you're missing.
What am I missing?
Craig was so good at setting the stage that in his basement it was as cold as deep space.
Wah. Oh my god!
Right?
My
Wasn't
space
it, Russ?
heater is missing, and everybody was
It was a
not everybody.
wearing
Rafe
okay.
and Dave were whining
It's
about
New
the
Hampshire.
temperature.
It's
It's
December.
New Hampshire. It's December,
It's got to be like 20
and it
degrees
was
outside.
a cold
It was
December
a cold day. And we still got our coats on. We're all bundled up. So it kind of felt like we were wearing power armor.
Yeah,
I seriously hope you guys are getting your money's worth.
I
out
was
of this.
so cold that like halfway through my butt felt completely numb.
Right.
But that's
from
what
the cold.
happens to you when we're podcasting on a regular basis.
That's
so.
true, actually.
Okay,
So we've suited up. We've
the
got our
journey to
oaths.
Belial Secundus on
Right.
the frigate Gladius. They reviewed a bunch of the data on the planet that was uploaded into the ship.
It's as cold as deep space.
Exactly. Agro world, non-defense oriented, massive automated farms and processing plants were scattered over the temperate zones, and they were all connected to the main capital. The Ceres was the name of the capital by an excellent road network and trains and things like that. So you had Ceres, which was the capital, which is kind of an open planned garden and park city. Latica, which was the spaceport, monorail, and underground transportation tunnels connected those two. And then the name that I still have no idea where this name comes. Salim al-Arab. I don't know. I have no idea.
Salim al-Arab.
Was another and Latica and Salim al-Arab were actually separated from Ceres by these giant foothills, so that you wouldn't have to look at all the industry and everything if you were in the nice capital. And that was a warehouse district, and they had a giant train that transported stuff from the warehouse district to the spaceport in Latica.
Yep.
Right.
And then you had outlying farms and processing centers. There was no sign of Inquisitor Varro. The last word, he was approaching the planet. There was nothing
was
in the comm net that said anything, and that he had deep suspicions about Governor Batiatus.
Yep.
Right.
So you arrive in system. There's no spacecraft anywhere about, and as soon as everything settles down from breaking out of the warp, there's a standard attempt at a communication request from the planet.
Right.
And Dave, Brother Bennett, says, "Send the Inquisitorial
That was me,
seal."
actually. That
was
me.
it you? Oh,
yeah,
there you go.
'cause everybody, they send a signal like, "What are you?" There's like, "Identify yourself. Who are you, impending ship?" And I said, "Send just." And the pilot asked, "What do you want to do?" And I'm a leader, right? So I said, "Send just the Deathwatch seal."
Logo, you said.
Yeah, logo,
which was hilarious.
And so they sent it.
Yeah.
And it was great because
Yeah,
it was
it
like,
was really fun.
that's kind of cool. They sent it, and then what happened?
The governor immediately got on the horn.
Hi guys, how are you?
Hello.
So, of course, everybody's joking. It was like, it's not the bat signal, but it worked awesome.
It totally worked.
Yeah,
Come on.
exactly. Well, hey, you're going to be horrified if that sort of thing pops up on your head.
Well, because I'm taking the approach. I'm proud, right? So I'm like, dude, we're Deathwatch. And the average Imperial citizen never really seen a space marine. We're considered sort of angels of death and sort of godlike.
Right.
So, like, this guy's probably never seen one. If he has, he's only seen a couple, and it should be interesting.
Right. Yeah. And the good thing for you is that the Deathwatch seal incorporates the Inquisitorial seal.
Right.
Because I don't think he would have recognized just the Deathwatch seal. So the governor comes on and goes, "Oh, hey, how are you? Can I do anything for you?" And he's all obviously very nervous. You could pump him for information. You could threaten him. This is where Dave jumps in and says,
What did Dave say?
you remember?
No, I don't remember.
Tell him to prepare the palace.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
That's awesome.
For our arrival.
Right, so we're all kind of. This is what's great because this is the part where we're starting to kick in to realize, hey, dude, we're space marines.
Right.
Let's
Everybody
do
but
this.
Andy. But here, I want to weave in some other thoughts, too.
Okay.
This is where, as the GM, I thought Craig did a good job because remember we said you don't have to reinvent the wheel. So we all know the governor's tainted, and I think Craig might have said here, or maybe at another time, he's like, and he's got kind of a slight glaze behind his eye, and we're all like, oh, he's corrupted by gene stealers, or oh, he's corrupted.
At that point, you didn't know what.
We didn't know it was Tyranids.
We
Could have been chaos.
We didn't know, but my point was, you didn't have to hide the ball. You didn't hide the ball, and we had a blast knowing. I did anyway. I'm like, okay, let's just get down there.
He knew he
and
was
see.
screwed up.
Exactly.
And also, what it told me was, I was worried that they were already totally overrun by whatever it was.
Yeah.
Orcs or something. Because out at metagame mode, we knew Craig had requested we bring orc and Tyranid models.
Right.
Yep.
And I said that I had Tau.
So I figured, and he said he had Tau, so I knew that was a smoke. Two of those three were smoke screens.
Yeah, Tau don't engender fear into space.
Tau,
That's what I thought.
So Tau was a tricky part, but I figured it was orcs, and so I was really worried it was like the place was teeming. And so as soon as I saw his face, I knew, okay, it probably isn't teeming because he's trying to have the air of it's not totally screwed up.
Right.
So that's when I thought, okay, we're going to land like Royal Guard coming into mess.
That's kind of what I mean about for the new GMs out there. You don't have to create it super sneaky. Make them look kind of corrupted, and we'll come up with our own weird answers as to what's going on.
Exactly.
Because it was this point we started breaking down into how do we approach.
Yeah.
Some of the crew's like,
we started
okay.
to talk for like 15 minutes on this, and
this is where Craig, Dave and I are like, maybe we should just drop in from orbit because we got jetpacks.
You and Dave,
because Dave's an assault marine, right? Dave's an assault marine.
Dave's an assault marine.
I'm a librarian with a jetpack. We're just going to drop in from orbit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? We should just friggin' land and walk out.
Yeah, it was actually Will that was the big proponent of that.
Yeah.
He's like, screw that, I'm a space marine.
Right.
So you had a Storm Raven landing ship, combat landing ship, and you were going to be able to make planetfall with that. So the Gladius was going to stay in orbit. The giant frigate. I mean, it's like the smallest ship in the Imperial fleet, but it's still a giant ship. Isn't going to make landfall. You had to choose where you were going to land. You could have landed in the countryside. You could have landed at the spaceport. You could have landed at the warehouse district. You could have landed in the outskirts, of the capital. Is there a giant parade ground right in front of the palace?
Well, because Dave and I are like,
yes,
maybe we could
is.
We're like, maybe we can just fly over low over the palace, and Dave and I will drop through the roof.
Oh yeah,
that was one.
We got a break here. Craig wasn't here for that part. We were talking about doing the flyby, and you guys were talking about dropping in through the roof, and then we had this funny little. You were looking for the heater, actually. We had this funny little moment where we're like, Dave doesn't negotiate it well. He's like, and like squishes the astropath that we needed to find to the governor.
That would have been great.
Yeah, but that was where we really got, and that's when I think all of us started realizing it's going to be fun to play a space marine because you look at all these different crazy options to do.
Yeah. So you decide to go straight to the governor's palace,
right? Land right in front of the front lawn,
and you see as you go in, all the activity has been halted.
Yep.
There's no one alive or dead apparently on the ground.
Yep.
None of the farms are active. None of the processing plants are active.
Yep. No machines
Russ,
going.
Because he was a tyrannic war veteran, is like, I'm
asking the question. What do we see for pictures?
I would recognize, signs, and I'm like, nope, there's nothing yet. Okay. So you've got some vague life sign readings from the capital and the outskirts of the capital city,
right.
That could be because they're in basements, or it could be because
we
it's some
wanted
sort
to
of
do some
Xenos
scans. We wanted to do some scans, and that's when you
told
told
us.
us.
I'm like, are there big hive nodes anywhere? No.
Nope. And you're like, you see some life forms. It could be like multitude of life forms in these little two pockets, and we thought maybe the basements or something.
Yeah, but we knew people were hiding and something was up.
Yeah.
But we didn't know what was up yet.
Yep.
Right.
So we land. The drop door opened.
And actually, who was it? Was it Andy was piloting and he landed extra rough because he wanted to break the flagstones?
Oh, right.
He's like, I want to make a crater.
Oh, then we're walking up the steps of the palace and we're all like, our boots are cracking the stairs, right? And Craig's like, oh yeah.
Because
awesome.
they're like walking on their heels so they can make more damage.
The stairs, right?
Nobody's around.
We don't see anybody.
Nope.
Nope. Although you do.
Oh yeah.
There are people on the roofs
watching us
around, and they're watching you. And I believe it was Bennett, the assault marine, was like, "You want me to go get one?"
Dave's like, "I'm gonna go get one." I'm like, "No, not yet."
Well, let's just leave them be. So you entered the vast atrium of the palace. It goes all the way up. There's balconies all the way around, and for the first time, everybody decided to split up. Typherius and Lucian headed to the administrative center, which was off to one side because he wanted to break into the.
That's because old Andy was our R2D2.
Exactly.
He just wanted to jack into every data port he could.
I want schematics.
He's like, are there any pictures? No, we want pictures.
That actually helped though because he found exactly.
Did.
He learned the whole layout. So he's tech marining over there. Learns the whole other thing. Meanwhile, Dave really wants to try the jetpack out. Apparently,
yes.
He's like,
this part's funny.
We got to jetpack up and go like to the because he's like, are there balconies outside? Can we land on the third floor and go walking in? So we're basically. I had these visions of walking in shoulder to shoulder like some Bard Arse movie, and just walk in, go right to the. They're like, no, we got to spread up and check everything. I'm like, okay, fine, we'll spread. So Dave and I jetpacked up to the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
And made our rolls, and it was funny because every once in a while, one of us would make our landing roll, would screw it up,
but
and it'd be
the best part was Craig's like, all right, well, you got to make an agility roll, and I'm like, oh wow, that's cool. They don't quite know how to use their jetpacks, and so Russ biffs his first one, and Craig role played it, and you were like, okay, you
almost made it.
You hit the railing, you kind of spin a little bit, but you recover and you look around to make sure no one's looking.
It was pretty cool. He hooked it with his hand, so he whipped around and landed.
It's all attitude, baby. It looks good no matter what.
And then of course Dave planted the landing perfectly, so he's rubbing it in.
The difference between you and me, I make this look good.
Right. Yeah. On the way back though, it was reversed, which was kind of funny.
Matt and I set up Devastator, and me as a tactical marine set up covering
defensive
fire
position in the atrium. Yep.
And that's when everybody's like, what? Huh? You're a space marine. And I was like, no, that's what I want to do.
No.
No?
I know.
I mean, a space
When
wolf.
we get to the point where I first went, but you're a space marine, I'll let you know. So everybody regroups back in the atrium. There was some las gun marks on the walls, so obviously there was some violence.
Oh, yeah.
No sign of dead bodies, though, so it's very mysterious.
Yep. No comm traffic.
Lucian drops a screamer, which is basically like a little mine that.
Oh, yeah, this is cool.
That analyzes everything in the room around him, and what'll happen is it'll send a signal to him if somebody walks by it. Right. So they don't get attacked while they're doing their thing, and they head to the throne room. So they open I broke them, actually.
Yeah, we regrouped at this point, too, because we found out nothing was up there. So we went back together, come to the throne room at the same time.
So
which ended up being very smart.
Giant double doors.
Yep.
And are they locked? I don't care. Boom! Somebody kicked them. Who kicked them?
I think it was me or
Shifty
Dave.
did.
You're
right. It was Shifty. Kicks the doors open, because why try to see if they're locked or unlocked? Kicks the door open. The huge, vast throne room is completely empty except for the governor, who's sitting on a throne at the far end, and he's kind of like shaking a little bit. He's drooling a little bit, and he's cackling. And he threatens the team. He's like, "Oh, I prepared all right," because he's all angry that Dave said, "Prepare the palace for our arrival."
Right.
And we had our first combat. A horde of PDF, the Planetary Defense Force guys, attack from 2 different doors. They come flooding in. So basically, there's 6 guys against 40 models, but it could have been 80 or 120.
And so they formed up in front of us.
Yep.
And we had one last, and I think I said something sort of like, stand down or you will all be slain.
Feel the wrath of the Emperor or something.
And don't go against the Emperor's will or something like that.
But see, I like this for another GM Academy moment, too, though, because we only had one night to play. Yeah. And it took a little extra time to make characters, and Craig didn't beat around the bush. He's like, all right, time to give these guys some action, but it seems seamless somehow. Right. It wasn't like we dicked around or wasted time for 40 minutes.
Again, this game lends itself to that because you've got your objectives and you know what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, I could throw a monkey wrench in, and this is just the tip of the iceberg of the idea I have in my head.
But I liked it.
But it worked well. So
they didn't back down. They started shooting at us with las guns.
And you saw the efficacy of a heavy bolter against a bunch of guys who are barely having any armor at all. Smite, the psychic power Smite, just
Smite fried a few.
Away.
And here's what my prize kicking in, right? So my plan was I'm going to jetpack. First I smited and killed a few guards. Then I'm going to jetpack over the guard line and fight the guy before he gets away.
The governor.
Take the governor out. So I jetpacked, but here's where I failed my roll.
Miserably.
Yes. I really, really failed it.
You really failed it.
So Craig had me come down too soon.
I think you burnt a...
I burned a fate point and still failed. I'm going to get the leader. So I just...
You basically skidded right into the front row.
My fate points totally failed me all night. It was awful.
He was going to hit the wall with his first roll. And
So I failed it a second time. It was much closer. It was within 20 or something. Yeah. So Craig's like, okay, well, you don't make it over the guys, and you kind of slide into them. So that's where I don't want to be, because now I'm fighting with a sword against a mob.
Yep.
But yeah, so that's what happened.
And for me, I was excited because I wanted to play backup fire support with my bolter, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't rush into hand to hand, and with my inferno rounds, I was killing 4 guys at a pop.
Well, that's the funny thing.
Which was so fun.
In the first round of combat, it's like, I do this, I do that, and Rafe's like, I step back and look at the battle.
Oh yeah, that's right. I looked up.
Like, seriously?
Right. Yeah.
So which was good.
I took a full round to do it too.
You did. If I had another horde in my pocket, that would have been.
Worked. And I just want to say, everything in Deathwatch worked like you think it would in 40K.
Totally.
Like the Dave being in there with his claymore, just swinging through guys. The heavy bolter worked perfect. Started mowing guardsmen down like crazy.
But that was a good example of role playing using your background fluff. That was me not being characteristically Space Wolfian and being studious.
Space Wolfian, nice.
Nice.
But the bolter worked exactly like I wanted. Like, I was killing more horde than the apothecary and the assault marine.
Yeah, you don't want to get a hand in combat with a horde unless you have
Right.
some kind of really good weapon
Right.
for it, because
Right.
you're going to be mobbed up.
Yeah.
Just like 40K.
Yeah, exactly. So the governor, Batiatus, actually escapes.
He slips out the back
He
door.
slips out the back door.
Because I couldn't jetpack well, damn it.
Exactly.
Hey, what would have happened if we would have tried to ignore the horde and rush him?
I did.
You couldn't. I mean,
The horde was in
only
the
way
way.
you could. The horde was in
Only
the
the
way,
jetpack guys
physically
could've
in
done
your
it.
way.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there, you know how in Dark Heresy there's that skill where you can maneuver through mobs? Like, would there be a way we'd be just like, and just
Not
smush them
that I
aside?
saw. I mean,
Okay.
there may be a skill that looks.
Two of us could have done it. Dave
Without the jetpacks, I
Yeah,
mean.
two of us had the choice. We just didn't do it.
right.
I tried, failed. Dave.
I mean,
did
you
it.
could have.
So the rules say they're basically impassable until you clear them.
Well, no. I mean, to me, that was common
40
sense.
plus guardsmen.
Okay, all right.
They're shoulder to shoulder,
Yep.
5 deep.
Yep, yep,
And, so it's not like going through a crowd. It's literally like
right.
going through a cordon of soldiers standing.
Well, the
to
reason
bar
why
your
I
way.
asked that is, like, could 40 guardsmen take down a space marine? If the
A
space,
space marine?
did nothing?
Yeah.
Not in this system.
Not really. Not without
Because
crack grenades or something.
the max you're going to be doing is 3d6.
They did hurt us, though. I took a point of
Yeah.
damage to one hand.
On your armor. You took
No,
a
but they're fighting
scratch.
5 Marines, spreading it out. Like they're all, but they only attack one guy each. So yeah, it wouldn't really work very well.
I mean, we could have
a horde
shouldered
against
our-
one space marine is kind of.
We could have shouldered our weapons and just plowed through them. I just wonder how the game dealt with that if we chose to do that.
Well, I don't know that we could have actually, because they do more damage when they're all of them alive.
Right.
We were
Just
mowing them
2d10.
down quickly.
2d10. Our
Plus
armor's
40
8.
though, right?
in addition to their.
To addition to their number, the
No,
bigger they
no.
are.
It's the number bonus is 2d10 max.
Yeah.
But their weapon does 1d10 plus something. So you're going to be looking at 3d10 plus 3 or
That would
4
hurt.
damage.
That would hurt. They rolled well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Just wondered.
But
we
anyway,
went through
Just
it.
wondered.
It was
we
cool.
wanted to fight him, so
The way it worked well.
Yeah, they're going to bog you down, or you could try to step away, but they're going to be. There's so many. I don't think it'll work. Anyway,
Anyway, he escaped.
yeah,
unfortunately.
yes, he escaped, and there
And we
was
were
one
not-
survivor.
And there was one survivor who I had at sword point somehow. I think I
Yes.
caught him somehow.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the exact situation, but I basically didn't put up with him very long.
No, well, he was talking about that they had to defend the children and blah blah blah. Gene
Oh, yeah,
Stealer
he was,
cult stuff.
Right.
He was like
basically.
raving.
He was raving lunatic,
Yeah.
so I just skewered
And
him.
then Michael just
You saved him.
Stuck him.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You saved
Suffer
him.
not the heretic to live.
There you go. There you go.
And we should say to non-40K players, like in 40K, like commissars will kill if if you're a commissar in an Imperial
Yeah.
Guard army and you run, they shoot you in the head with a bolt round.
There's no
So
mercy.
it's not that
It's
Michael.
the dark future.
Right. It's not Michael was evil. That's what Space Marines did. The guy was
He's a
tainted with
heretic.
chaos.
He's got to die.
dead. He's dead.
There
It's
you
that
go.
simple.
There you go.
Tainted with a hive mind. but
Okay,
yeah.
so the team goes sort of following the governor, not really. There's some stairs down, so the team goes down because that's where the
Yeah,
astropathic.
we let I think Andy was leading at this point, or somebody
I
wanted
think
to go
he
a certain
was, yeah.
way, and I was kind of hoping
He
we were
wanted to
following
go see the
guy.
astropath because we
Yeah,
needed
and that was
to-
the primary objective. So we
had
all
to
went to the
establish
astropath before we chased the
comlinks.
governor, because the astropath was primary, right?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the basement, you had the astropath's array suite. On the way there, that's where the whole argument: do we open the doors? Do we not open the door? And I'm going, what military guy is going to go buy a closed door and not open it and leave it behind him unopened?
And that's where we were in the conga line and we couldn't shoot around each other too.
No, that was later.
Oh.
This was like eventually somebody's like, okay, we're just going to open a friggin' door. And the doors were actually execution chambers, and you could tell that somebody had been lined up against the wall and shot and then dragged out.
But no bodies.
But there are no bodies. So now people started going, oh, they're dragging the bodies. Oh, interesting.
No, it was good
Okay.
hints. We knew.
Oh, that's where I was looking for the void. You always look for the blood
Yes,
void.
the blood void. The
blood void,
The
like
void in the
CSI.
blood spray. And I said, no, Grissom, there is no void in the blood spray.
Hey, I was studious.
were
Exactly. You
studious.
absolutely were.
I even had my little blue
You
light.
finally got to the massive vault lock that went
Yep.
into the astropath's chamber,
Mm-hmm.
and Andy had his first of several failures trying to bust into the
keypad.
giant vault with the keypad, and he just couldn't do it. He kept biffing his roll. So they looked in the rule book and saw how
The
much
claw.
damage a claw can do.
The claw
The servo
knows all.
arm, and basically punched this safe vault
Right.
door right through its hinges.
There are many claw jokes at this point.
At which point somebody went, I hope that wasn't like sealed for a reason. Like, what if our astropath needs this to be hermetically sealed?
Yeah.
Which is funny.
I was a little concerned about the breaching of the whole chamber there, but
Yeah, it wasn't. Well, didn't you communicate with your astropath in orbit?
Yeah, I was
because of
trying
the,
I was trying to remember when we did that.
No, you pulled out the communicator and asked them if they had the code. They thought maybe there's like some generic code to get through the door.
Is there a generic astropathic code for
there
all
an
super
override?
secret doors?
And I believe the astropath's response was, if there was, it wouldn't be secret, would it?
And we were being kind of goofy because we're like, get Jim on the horn. When we call up,
Right.
like, Jim, what? We're down here before the door.
Well, you
What's
call
the
captain.
code?
Get the astropath
Get
on
the
the horn.
captain.
Right.
Yep. So eventually he did break into. There was another door, and he didn't bust that open. He actually used his tech skill to force that door open. And you found the astropath had starved to death inside his array suite, the room that he has to be in to project his thoughts across the light years.
Yeah. But it was cooler than that. It was we go in and it's dark and there's all the chambers and the cables and the doodads, and then we spotted a clump of cloth in the corner, and we're kind of scanning the ceilings.
And I think it was because Dave jump packed up and hovered
Up
for
the
a
tower.
second and misunderstood me when I said there's a lump of cloth in the corner.
And I said, watch out for the fan at the top and stop burping if you can't come down.
Yeah.
And Dave was like, great, he left his laundry here.
But the reason why I say that is the starving to death, again, was kind of a cool little twist. I know it's as inane as that sounds, because what are we expecting, right? He's going to be in the chair, grimaced in the lock of death because some psychic scream blew up. No. He's starved to death.
He's gone.
He's just dead because he's
He
got
was
locked
ready to
in there
start.
for 2 weeks.
Exactly.
So that's when we're like, hey, let's just call Bob down here and stick him in. No, we
And so
let Bob stay for a while.
Yeah, exactly. So the tech marine sat in the array and accessed the logs, and there were actually
R2D2 again.
exactly there were actually many reports that the astropath had sent out. Oh, the Great Devourer, which is the sort of like the horror name for the Tyranids, has arrived, and all this.
So now
bad
we knew
stuff.
definitely Tyranids.
But you also knew that something had stopped all the astropathic signals from getting out.
Which also implied
The Tyranid,
hive
that
node,
there was a bigger hive node on the planet.
So the good news is we knew that the Tyranids did not get in here, so this door was secure.
Yeah.
We blew the heavy door up. We had the interior door. So
Yep.
so we thought primary objective one's kind of achieved because we can lock this door and our guy can come off the ship later. So we've got that.
And
covered.
reestablish
Exactly.
comm links.
Right.
Yeah.
Now we're on to
Astropathic
secondary
link.
objectives, which is the governor.
So now they're like, oh
governor.
crap, we've lost the governor.
Right.
So they go back up to try to track the governor, who left through the back side of the palace. And on the way out, they get attacked by their first actual Tyranids, 10 termagants, I think it was.
Yep.
And that's when you were in
You're in a
fire
line,
for
yeah.
effect mode, but you were in a conga line.
Oh, okay. Oh, right. I
There
forgot
weren't
about
many
that.
of them. That didn't take much.
Right, that didn't
we
take
blew
much
them
time
out
at all.
of the
That
way.
wasn't even a horde, and it didn't take you any time at all.
They're like, dead.
So you followed them out, but then once you got out onto the streets again, you saw that the people were shadowing you on the roofs. And I think was Dave working under your orders, or did Dave just take it upon himself?
We had a small debate at this point. We're trying to decide if we really cared about the governor so much or the replacement for the governor.
Right.
And after a bit of discussion, we decided that the replacement for the governor is the most important thing.
Was this the big cellar debate versus
Yes.
the warehouse debate?
Yes. I wanted to go because I was using my Tyranid War thing and saying, where is the best place? Now we know it's Tyranids.
Yeah.
So it's all about them.
Oh, you wanted to find the big mama
I wanted to go to the
Tyranid.
heart. I wanted to take the heart out. And everybody's like, no,
No,
that's
'cause
not
that's
the
not
primary
the
objective.
objective.
The objective is get a governor back
Yep.
in. So I said, okay, fine, that's the objective. I'll agree with you on that. And that's when Dave came up with a plan of either.
Well, Dave
cellars.
wanted to go see the cellars
Yeah.
because that's where the signals from the ships had
Right.
alerted
And
there
the
was
theory
little
was
biomasses there.
either they're survivors hiding in the cellars, or they're like
Right.
spawning pits that are churning out aliens.
And that's kind of what I thought it was. That's
And
why
this
they
is
did it.
where, like, I think it's a great plan. Dave's like, look, we'll go to the cellars first. We'll have an answer. We'll understand. We'll know. And then we can
Right.
go see the thing. And Andy's like, no. What we should do is this, that. I'm like, why?
I think the mistake was I agreed with Dave. If I had
Yes.
stuck with the warehouse, I'd been
Yeah.
fine.
And later at Breakfast Gaming Club this past week, he's like, no, whatever Russ said, I objected to. I'm like, but you don't use any character voices. I just thought you were
couldn't
being
tell.
stupid.
It did feel like he was
I'm
just
like,
sort of.
why'd we invite him?
I thought it was funny.
It was funny though.
So we did get
Every group's got one,
We
right?
got to go on our way to go to the cellars. And
Right.
while
Well-
we go to the cellars, we're
Well, the
being
first thing you
shadowed.
had to do, the first thing you had to do was capture one of these guys that's shadowing you. So the giant, super scary, 8-foot tall guy with a jump
So
pack
Dave decided to do
jumps
this one.
up.
soars up to this third-story roof and grabs this poor guy who
Misses his
soils
landing,
himself
though.
immediately.
He missed his landing
did
a
miss
little
his
bit.
landing and actually
But-
land
oh
in
no,
the...
he
through
fell
the
all
floor.
the way through
He
the
fell
floor up
through
to
the
his
floor.
With his
armpits.
arms. Like, oh! He pulled
That's
himself
true.
up.
That's right.
was
That's
hilarious.
right. That's right. He whiffed the landing.
Oh, that's funny.
Hardcore.
Better him than me on that one.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
And the guy basically soils himself during
Yeah.
this whole time.
And so Dave Bennett calms him down,
Climbs out of the hole somehow.
climbs out of the hole, and then slowly lowers himself, and this guy, Robar, I'll call him in this particular version. I think I called him Bob that night.
Yeah.
Brings down, and Robar, the survivor, tells about these various cells that he thinks are existing. He lives in one that's 15 to 20 people. Every night they have to fight the Tyranids. They're in this cellar, and all the people are in the cellar, but they're not communicating. So the team develops the plan. We have to bring all the survivors someplace that they can defend themselves. Russ has a skill. Was it a skill that you used?
For which thing?
The tactical.
Oh, I had a skill. I had taken tactics, battle tactics, and so I had increased it by 1. So I said, Craig, I want to try to make a tactical assessment of the best, safest place in the building in the city to defend. And I rolled really well.
Yeah,
I rolled like
really
a 10
well.
or something.
Yeah.
So Craig's like, okay, there's this perfect spot right in the center of town.
The Mint.
The Imperial
And so
Mint.
we hatched this plan where, okay, we're going to get all these guys together. We're going to take them to the Mint and set that defense up. 2 Marines will go clear the Mint out, or some small squad of us will clear the Mint out.
Yeah.
Originally, it was 2, 2, and 2.
Yeah, and someone got
And
weird.
then it got 4 going to the Mint, and 1
Yes.
each going to different sections.
So
of
you
the
and
town.
Dave, the Space Wolf and the Assault Marine, right,
Yep.
went out to try to gather more people.
Yep.
Because Dave was gregarious. I think it was because of skills. Dave was gregarious, and you were like friendly or something.
Because
right?
Dave went all gregarious on that guy,
Yeah.
and he calmed him down to lead him to the other cells.
Right.
And it's at that point you reminded us that we didn't just have to dispatch the governor, we had to replace the governor.
Right.
And so when we went to the other cell, we found another group, and we found that cell's leader, and I used my Son of Lehman Russ power to talk that guy into being the leader.
I think I was voted out of this role because I poked out of the guy with a sword in the face.
Yeah.
So I was in the. So we went to the Mint, right?
Yeah.
to clear that out.
And the Mint was pretty clear.
Now, it started to get late at this time, so Craig had to start speeding
Well, not
this
yet.
way
Not yet,
through.
not yet.
Well, you did, because you were like, I thought you were kind of like, well, you basically checked the whole thing out, and
No,
it's
not
pretty
yet.
much
No,
empty.
because I
Not yet.
knew there was nothing in the Mint.
Oh, okay.
And I knew I rolled. There's a wandering monster chart in the in the adventure in the back of the book that I decided to adjust and use. And I rolled it, and I rolled a lictor, which is this giant lone hunter monster,
Like Predator.
Tyranid,
Can kill a
Perfectly
space
blends.
marine.
Predator, like twice
Yeah.
the size, twice the height of a Tyranid of a space marine.
And then 40K in hand-to-hand combat, they could pretty easily kill a space.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can kill a space marine.
Yeah. And so I kind of kept that off to the side for a second to see what everybody was doing. And then they were like, okay, we'll split up and we're going to go off on my own. And I was like, oh, okay.
I was kind of against splitting up a lot, but we had to at this point.
Yeah.
So there's a squad of us there. You and Dave are the Space Wolf, Rafe,
Yep.
and Dave the Assault Marine are all spread out.
Yep.
And Dave's being followed by a small cadre of little humans.
Yes.
Yeah.
Helping him along. Well, you also had a little
Yeah.
cadre.
Yep.
Yeah, basically they split up the first cell,
Right.
and each took half the cell so that they would have humans with them, normal-sized humans, to try to ease the fears of the other cells.
So Dave gets to this building.
Yeah, so Dave gets to his building, and I rolled randomly whether it would be Rafe or Dave that would get attacked by the lictor, and it was Dave. And so Dave goes to the first location of the next cell and finds that they're all dead.
He opens the door. It's empty,
Opens
dark,
it.
and there's a lot of dead
But
bodies.
here's what's different. The dead bodies are there.
Right.
The dead bodies are
They're
there.
all there.
exactly.
They've been killed recently.
And yes, the blood is
probably
still
still
tacky. The
The humans are freaking.
yeah.
Well, Dave tells him to stay there. You stay here.
And they bolt.
And they don't bolt yet.
They don't bolt
No,
yet.
that's
He
Sorry,
walks.
Yep.
So they're standing there with their las guns shaking in their
Yeah,
hands.
yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And Dave walks in quietly and starts looking around for trouble.
Because
Yep.
he's a space marine.
He's a space marine. He's playing it right.
And trouble he finds.
And trouble he finds as the lictor sort of unfolds itself
ceiling.
from the ceiling,
Drops down
lands
behind
behind him, snags him with these 2 giant
Flesh hooks.
which are like
wrap around him.
They wrap around him. They pull him in and they start wrestling, and the thing just starts beating the crap out of Dave.
And
What did Dave say? He said something really fluffy in his comlink to us. He didn't say it's a lictor. He said we've got contact.
he said
We've got
contact.
contact. We're engaged. I'm
Yeah.
engaged.
Yeah.
And he yelled to the humans, "Run!"
Run, yeah.
Now, I think I would have yelled fire, but he yelled "Run!"
Well,
and
he
they
was protecting
ran.
him.
No,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
but they blew their willpower
Right.
test.
Yeah, it wouldn't matter what he said.
hardcore, so
They
they
flew.
ran.
What's cool for the tension, though, again, GM scaling back, is all of us being very hardcore 40K players, we know this lictor can be
We know this is
dangerous to
bad.
Dave.
Yeah.
we know this is bad.
Right.
We're not
And
feeling
so-
all Space Marine-y,
Yeah.
impervious to anything
Right.
at this point.
It's funny because I figured in my head, I'm like, at this point somehow in the game, I started feeling like it matched between second edition 40K and third edition 40K in
Yeah,
power level
yep.
for the Marines,
Yep.
which I'm loving because I love that time period. So I'm like, okay, I think 2 or 3 of us can take him.
Right.
Probably 2. So I'm like, I've got the jetpack, so I'm flying back. And at this point, I should have remembered the
because of the
order.
comm links, everybody knows he's
Right.
being attacked now. So everybody starts to run towards Dave's position,
Right.
except for Lucian, the
Right.
tech marine who stays behind.
We wanted
to guard
at
the
least one to
humans.
stay behind the guard at the mint.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm flying at full speed with my jetpack. So Craig's like, it'll take everybody 4 turns to get there, except for
Russ.
the librarian will get there in 2 because of the jetpack.
turns. Yep.
All right, so we're flying back, and Dave's in combat with this thing.
And Craig's like, so you leave your humans there? I'm like, yep, they got to fend for themselves. Time to go. Battle
Right.
brother in trouble.
Right.
So Dave was very close to death by the time you showed
Yeah.
up.
He had been hit pretty hard. I
Yeah.
think he'd been penetrated. His armor had been penetrated a little bit.
Yeah.
But there wasn't any fluffy like gore yet, but he was definitely beat up.
Right.
And his
Well,
armor
his
was starting
wounds
to
were down. He was
Yeah.
down to like 4 or 5
Yes.
before he started getting
So
critical.
I actually had a decent landing outside the door.
Yeah.
Ran inside
Yep.
and had the force weapon. And this is something I've actually done in 40K a lot. I've seen Michael kill guys in force. So I jammed my force. I rolled really well. Jammed it
Yes.
into him. Rolled a massively good roll. So how it works is your force weapon does normal damage like a power weapon.
Yeah.
But then you get bonus dice depending on how well you beat the roll. I really did a good roll.
For every 10 points you beat it by, you get another D10.
So with this huge amount of damage, it didn't die though. So we're
No.
like, so how badly is he hurt? At this point, Craig's like, he's down to about 20%. We all look dead silence. Craig's
Yeah.
like, down to about 20%. Could have heard a cricket. Creep, and I'm like, come on. And Craig's like, all right. So what'd you say? Like, so a giant old
a
blows.
huge hole in its leg, and it starts to stagger backwards, and it's like,
Like,
and
that's
it
better.
screams. You know that it's,
Like, that's better.
And you're like, but
It starts to
Shoulders
stagger
forward.
towards Dave. He's not stopping, and Dave's like crouched in a corner, and he's like, he gets ready with his Sacris Claymore.
So it's awesome. So Dave gets a great roll with his claymore.
Yep.
Cleaves the thing. I think he described his head.
Cut his
getting
head
gassed
off.
up.
Yep.
And the thing falls down, and then Dave sees me standing behind him with a sword, force weapon, like sliding out of his body. It was awesome. It was, like
yeah, it
two
was very
wounds took
good
him down.
cinematic.
It was great.
The cell, they fail their willpower checks
They're
so
already flat.
badly
Yeah.
that they're gone.
They're long.
Yeah.
I never saw them again. Yeah.
Craig's like, you'll probably just never see them again.
So the mint, we had the guys at the mint. We had our leader
5 years
replacement.
from now, if you guys succeed in your mission and Imperial rule is restored,
They might come
may
out
come
of
out of a basement.
So now at this point, we've got 2 objectives pretty much done.
Yep.
We've you know where the astropath is. We've
Yep.
got a replacement for that.
Yep.
And we've got the mint secure, and we've got a replacement leader we like who did not run away. So we
Yep.
got him at the mint.
Oh, that's where I used my favor son. When the
Right, 'cause you
colonel,
got the other guy. Yeah, the
cell
colonel,
was
yes.
the colonel,
Yeah.
and he didn't want to take command, but I used my ability, and he basically
now
said,
we've
I
got-
can do this.
We got 2 sub objectives left.
Yep.
We got to find our Inquisitor,
Varro.
who based on he's the last objective. I mean, we think he's at the spaceport probably because where his ship landed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we've got to take out the main problem, which is the 3rd objective. And based on my tyrannic war thing, we've looked at
Your
and
math's
this-
a little off, but it's good enough.
Am I off? Well, and we also realized this part where it's getting late. We're running out of
Yeah.
time
Yeah.
to finish.
Yeah.
Kind of
And
like
so,
this segment.
Right. So we're like, let's just attack the final thing.
Yes, so we have about an hour,
For fun.
which ironically it took 2. But so I went, okay, so here's the deal. You know that it's in the warehouse because you already figured
So the
that
place
out.
big enough to hold a hide
Okay,
node, blah, blah, blah.
So you guys go, whatever you grab an 18-wheeler, you hotwire it, however. You travel to Salim Al Arab, which is where the warehouses are, and you basically track to this giant warehouse that you then cross-reference with some orbital scans and stuff.
Right.
So you know that the big bad guys are in this giant warehouse.
Yep.
It only has a single huge cargo door, and so there you go. So
That's
I
it.
drew it out on the big map, set them up, and put all the cargo piles of cargo inside so they would know. And immediately Dave's like, "I'm going to jump up onto the roof with a
This is the
melta
point.
bomb."
First of all,
part's hilarious.
This is the part. A couple things happen here. So we're planning, right? And this could have been a 2-hour planning session, but we all knew we didn't have time for that, so we didn't do any of that crap. And I'm like, well, I'm going to metagame here. First of all, I remember we talked to Ross. The Carnifex can't be in there because it's not out yet. And I didn't think the Hive Tyrant was in the book either. So I was like, it's probably going to be like some Tyranny warriors and a buttload of dudes,
Yeah.
right? So I'm like, we could probably take this. So I'm all for walking through the door, shoulder to shoulder, all 4 of us together. But Dave's got this great tactical idea of going through the back,
Yep,
through
through the roof.
with a melta bomb, breaking through the roof with a melta bomb. And I'm like, I really don't want to do that. But my pride, again, the pride thing, I'm like, okay, I'm going to go with Dave because I'm pride. I'm not going to be the hero. I'm going to be the hero with him.
I got
So-
a jump pack too.
Right. So the jetpack guys go on the roof through the back
Yeah.
door, and everybody else is going through the front door.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's pretty much the plan.
Yep.
And the plan is wait till the bomb blows.
Right.
The roof.
which is basically what starts the battle.
Right.
The melta bomb goes off, blows a huge hole in the roof, and a huge, I think it was 50 or 60 magnitude Hormigaunt horde erupts towards the door.
Yep.
So
Right.
basically, you have the Tech Marine, the Space Wolf, Tactical Marine, the Apothecary, and the
Heavy Bolter.
the Devastator Marine,
Right.
all at the door. And
With
two
giant mobs
with
going
two
at 'em.
giant mobs. Well, first the Hormigons came out, and they're like huge close combat monster mobs. And then a Termagant mob, another giant one, which are like shooty guys. They came around another corner, so now they're getting mobbed. And over the heads, they can see off in the distance in the corner a giant figure, which is the Hive Tyrant, which is the biggest monster badass.
Who Dave and I have a much better view of.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
And again, as 40K experienced players, we know a Hive Tyrant is a big problem for a
Yes.
squad.
Hive
of
Tyrant could
Marines.
easily kill many Marines, 10 or more.
Yes.
And so we're looking through the hole in the roof, which is pretty much almost directly above the
On
Hive
top
Tyrant.
of the Hive Tyrant.
Yeah.
And looking through the hole, we can also see 3 Tyranid warriors
Yeah.
in the corner.
the far corner.
Yep.
So the plan was supposed to be that we were supposed to drop through the roof immediately.
Right.
So the guys from the front burst in and they're firing at the guys, and the guys from the roof come in and we're like flanking from the rear, disrupting the rear.
Right.
Well, Dave pauses
Pauses and throws a crack grenade.
throws a crack grenade. And this is great because Dave's face was awesome. He throws a crack grenade, gets a perfect throw right into the Hive Tyrant. It detonates.
Does 2 points of damage.
And after we subtract all the
All the
game
armor and
mechanics,
everything,
like
the
only 2
toughness.
points get through all of his stuff.
Right.
And Dave's like, what? His face is awesome. His precious. I wish I had a camera. He's like,
Yeah.
And to this point, Dave's like, and they show no fear. He failed his roll. He's like, I'm done.
Yeah. So Dave,
in real life, not in the game, in real life.
Right.
Dave reassesses the situation and thinks to himself, maybe I shouldn't jump down there.
I'm not
but
going
not
in there.
Russ.
But
Not
not
Russ.
Michael, the
No.
Archangel. No, so I'm like, I'm going in because the pride thing, and plus my squad's on the line. I'm the leader. The squad's on the line. I'm
That's
going to
true.
sit here and watch them charge past us.
I thought you were insane. But
So I
anyway.
was. It was great. Well, the best part was the reaction of the group. So I jumped through the hole and landed toe to toe with the Hive Tyrant. Actually, did a pretty good roll too. I landed right there in
Yep.
front of him.
Yep.
And everybody's like, "You did what?" I'm like, "All right, I'm going in." Now, remember, I think this is second or third edition 40K, and in second or third edition 40K, my librarian has killed a Hive Tyrant hand in combat. It's about 50-50 because you
Okay.
got the invulnerable
Yeah.
save,
Uh-huh.
you got the force one that
yeah.
can kill him with one hit.
Yep.
And I'm thinking I got a power that gives me bonus parries. I got my force weapon, which could do a lot of damage if I roll well. I can hold them off if I don't have to fight the Tyranid warriors.
Well,
Okay,
that came in. That
was
came
worrying.
later. You were figuring that out.
No, I had
You
that figured
were-
out.
You were holding your own because you were dodging and
I
you were
rolled
dodging
like
and parrying
garbage.
enough.
Yeah.
Yes, I
to
rolled like
not be
garbage.
too. Now, I know why Dave didn't jump down. He was hurting. From
He was still hurting from the lictor.
Yes.
Yes, he was.
because Will couldn't heal.
Well, then
to
his
save his
plan
life.
shouldn't have been jumping through the hole in the back
I
in the
know.
beginning.
So
If
Dave,
he's not going to go in, don't go in.
Dave's beat
I
up.
thought it was an interesting plan.
It was funny.
Dave's
I
like
like the
4
idea.
wounds away from being criticaled. You know, and that's how beat up
Yes,
he was,
yes.
Yeah.
even after being healed.
Yes.
So at the front, we've got we've got Matt taking out 14 hordes guys at a time.
Right, you guys
Hellfire.
are mowing through the hole, but you
Heavy
couldn't get through
bolter.
them. That was
No.
slowing you down.
I'm going 4 at a time. Andy's dropping crack grenades. Everybody dropping. We cannot get through the horde.
Yeah.
Russ is going toe to toe with Hive Tyrant. He's dodging, he's parrying, and then the Tyranid warriors come in,
They charge in from the other
and
side.
that starts
And
to
I was
give Russ
hoping.
a problem.
Well, I was hoping they had a gun. And they had the 2 guys with the pairs of swords each. And I was really hoping I was kind of hoping they'd be like, well, the Hive Tyrant comes to kill the stupid human. I'm going to go after the other Marines. But they went after me. And they were
they
shooting
went
Dave.
after Dave first.
Well,
with
they're
the
shooting
gun,
Dave, but they're advancing. Obviously,
Right.
they can't engage me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and at this point, I'm starting to taunt Dave. I'm like, this is your plan. It's great. So the Hive Tyrant swings at some point, and I got the psychic power on a one arm, so I've got 2 parries a turn, and I'm rolling garbage. I can't parry
Yeah,
anything.
now you can't parry a
And so
thing.
the Hive Tyrant finally hits me in a great description. He gets through my armor,
Yeah.
takes out my knee. My knee
Rips
explodes.
your
It's
kneecap
like this whole
off.
description. Gore shoots everywhere, and I'm on the ground. And I'm on the ground, still trying to parry, still fighting the Hive Tyrant, thinking I've got a chance if the Tyranid warriors don't get to me. And I yell to Dave, I seem to remember your plan was to jump through the hole and fight with me. And Dave yells, I seem to remember you used to have a kneecap.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, come on, Dave.
And then you're like, you're not doing anything. And he's like, I'm killing 1 Tyranid warrior a turn. He's like, what are you talking about? Because he was up through
Yeah,
the
he
hole.
was
He
up
was
there with
shooting
a
his
bolt
bolter.
pistol, and he was
Yeah, and he was nicking one, and then the heavy bolter was shooting on him too.
But he
and they were
was
starting to kill
killing him.
He was killing him, yeah, but not fast enough.
Not
No.
fast enough to save Michael.
No.
And we're like, all right, well, wait. If we thin this horde, they'll break. No, they won't, because Craig
Right.
advises the Tyranid warriors and the Hive Tyrant is in Synapse.
But yeah, Synapse.
Well, setups, there are nodes. There's nothing to break them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you, and that's when you guys started ignoring the horde and shooting at the warriors, which was helpful. The heavy
Right.
bolts started
Yeah.
shooting them.
Yep.
Yeah. So in the final battle, you had Michael mano a mano with the Hive Tyrant for
Yes.
several turns. More
Turns.
turns than I thought. Once we saw how much
And the
damage it was
Tyranid warriors
dishing.
killed me twice. If they hadn't gotten there, I'd have lasted a little longer.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep.
You've got Bennett trying to use his bolt pistol to keep the warriors away.
Yep.
Gareth, Typherius, Lucian wade in towards the hordes, and you had Zadkiel with the heavy bolter setting up a position slightly outside the door, just mowing the gaunts
Right.
down. And the team trying to work their way through the horde to save Michael and Bennett, and it's just not
Not going
working
well.
out.
No.
And then
it went pear-shaped.
then it all went pear-shaped.
Yes.
Michael was the first to go down, I believe.
Yep.
I was. The final roll was the Hive. Well, the warriors hit me twice with their sword. I think the warriors actually killed me because I fell behind the Hive Tyrant, still fighting and parrying. But you can only parry once with each parry weapon. I had so there was too many.
Once
attacks
period, but you had a special ability.
Yeah, so I had two because the sword and I had a glowing arm. But finally the Tyranid warrior got to me. Hit me a couple times and finally got a roll.
You actually went after the Storm Warden has this awesome ability where he can call somebody out.
Right.
Oh,
And
Dave
that's what he
finally
did.
agrees to jump down.
Yeah, so
Dave finally jumps
Dave
down.
jumps down, and he basically calls out the Hive Tyrant, which means the Hive Tyrant's going to have a lot of negatives fighting anybody
Works
but Dave.
just like a tank in
awesome.
D&D.
Yeah, or in any of those MMORPGs.
So, which is awesome, which saved me. So I'm fighting the Tyranid warrior by myself.
Yeah,
and I
that's
missed my
right.
parry roll twice with my last fate
Yeah,
point.
that's
So
right.
he hits me well, and it says it like cuts me in half from like
Yes,
stem to stern.
totally disembowels.
But it makes this it's awesome. My intros shoot out, and all this great description, and it makes this huge pool of slippery goo.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if they fail their roll, they have minuses to hit me this turn.
Yeah,
minus 10.
And it was great because even in death, I served for the
That's
Tyranid
right.
warrior failed twice.
That's
His
right.
roll, I couldn't hit Dave, which was nice.
And,
One of the Tyranid falls down and goes prone.
Yeah, you did. And he fell.
on my guts.
And that saved Bennett for another turn.
Right.
Because
So
Bennett
Dave-
eventually went down to the Hive Tyrant
Yeah,
and
he
the last
battles for like
warrior.
He got decapitated.
Now
I
it's at
believe.
this
Yeah.
point that we realize how powerful a Hive Tyrant is.
Right.
So we're doing
We've done,
even
10 points
rolling
to him.
exploding tens, which we
Yeah.
won't have time to get into righteous fury and stuff like that.
Yeah.
We do like maybe 2 points on
We
the
were not
Hive
Well,
Tyrant.
through him.
you were doing your rolls weren't nearly as good as they needed to be, but you
Right.
were whittling him down.
Yeah.
If I'd ever had a great roll, I could have done a lot of damage. I just couldn't.
Well, if you could have parried.
it couldn't come through. It
Right.
couldn't
So
come-
Dave-
the force weapon was the weapon you wanted
Right.
in there, but
yeah, I just couldn't roll well.
So
I kept
Dave
rolling
makes
high.
another-
ignoring all armor.
Yeah.
Goo pile. I decide, well, it's my turn, so I advance through a gap.
No,
in
Will
the
didn't. Will
horde.
jump in next. The
No,
Blood
yeah,
Angel.
it was Typhirian,
Oh,
the
yeah.
Blood
He
Angel,
went blood frenzy.
uses his demeanor
awesome.
to charge. He sprints through the. There was a gap in the hordes.
Yep.
He sprints the length of the warehouse, takes a flying leap off
It
a
was
pile
awesome.
of cargo,
Very
and,
Blood Angel.
and he drops. He's like 3 meters short of the Hive Tyrant, and I was like, okay, fine, it's your demeanor.
It's a
go for
demeanor.
it.
He gave it to him. It was nice.
So he's like, I go and a king does nothing.
And this is the point where Craig's like, you can re-roll that because he's starting to realize we're in
Yeah.
real bad shape. I'm like, I'm a blood spot. I got no re-rolls.
No, you did not.
But
And I don't think it was quite this, but at some point, Will woke up and got excited and knocks over your initiative board, spilling
Into
your
my
soda,
soda, yes,
and
yeah.
soaking your chair.
Yes, there was that.
yeah, you were standing the rest of the game. It was kinda
I
fun.
was standing the rest of the game.
So Will got decapitated. It was a great line about his head shooting off and the blood
Yeah,
splat.
yeah,
That was where the gore shot out and got him to turn his eyes. It was great.
Yeah.
The lower half of my body is completely numb at this point.
Yes, there you go.
So now it's just left.
So now
three
it's
of us are
Gareth,
dead.
it's the TAC Marine, the Tech Marine, and the Heavy
Yeah,
Bolter.
Andy's like killing 2 at a time with grenades or something
Right.
silly.
No, he kept missing. He's only got 3
worthless.
frag grenades, and he threw one and it went well. He missed with the next 2, which is tough to miss a horde with a frag
Right,
grenade.
because the problem with the hordes, if you're sitting there thinking, wait, he's got 2 attacks and a servo arm, great. It wasn't killing them fast enough. 'Cause,
Right.
like a frag grenade would kill more.
Yeah. So Typhirian runs, charges, doesn't do any damage, gets his head cut off. Gareth now decides, well, I'm not going to be dying over here with the weedy guys. He sprints through the hordes.
You're going to die. You got to die to a Hive Tyrant.
Stands in the middle of the spawning pool. Did
Yes.
you kill the last warrior?
The
I
Warriors
think
did
you
go
did.
down.
I think Matt
Yeah.
might have killed it or something.
No, I think you shot with your
I think you
bolter.
did.
You
Oh, yeah.
took you took out the last Tyranid warrior,
The Warriors
which
did go down,
unfortunately
which is good.
freed up the Hive Tyrant, which charged in and killed you.
Killed
I think
you,
in 2.
What happened to you? Decapitation also?
Same
or-
thing. Same thing. No, I got killed the
leg
same way
loss.
Dave did.
Dave
Disemboweled,
lost a
I
leg.
thought.
Yeah,
With
yeah.
the
my
leg.
leg
Yeah.
torn
leg
out of
and blood
socket.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
The important thing here is I was parrying and I had a dodge skill which you guys didn't have, but I was out of fate points,
Yeah.
so I missed my dodge
You
skill.
just one bad
and
roll, it's a Hive Tyrant.
No fate points.
Exactly. So then Zadkiel, the heavy bolter guy, is
Now,
just
now
in the-
Russ and I are home at this point, so we
Yes.
actually don't know what happened.
We had to bail.
We
Oh,
had to
It's
work.
beautiful. So the
like
heavy
midnight at
bolter
this
guy
point.
wades into the middle of the aisle, and he just sets himself up, and he just starts.
And did he load in Hellfire rounds? Which
Yes,
ignore
it's
natural
Hellfire,
armor?
which
Nice.
ignore the Tyranid's natural armor.
That's a good one for Hive Tyrants.
Not its toughness, unfortunately, which is like 18 points
Well,
of damage.
If you
it
play
ignores.
40k, you realize that a heavy bolter, even with Hellfire, is probably not the best weapon against a Hive Tyrant.
A hive exactly. So he's going, and the thing's like screaming towards him, and meanwhile the Tech Marine is off, like getting swamped by the Termagants, and he's like,
Yeah.
I can't kill a single Termagon. And so
Frickin' Andy.
The Hive Tyrant was insane. The Hive Tyrant gets in on him.
Andy's probably looking for a data point somewhere.
Exactly. Hits him, does a bunch of damage. Hits him, does a bunch of damage. Misses.
No, that's good.
Okay, Zadkiel steps out of combat.
Yeah.
The Hive
Now,
Tyrant
does that provoke
swing-
free strikes in this game?
Yeah,
Okay,
misses.
Yeah. Nice.
Shoots him again.
Is he doing any damage?
I cannot tell you the piss poor die rolling
I
that's
know. We all
going
had
on here.
It just wasn't meant to be. We
And we
all
were
had really
all
bad
out of
rolls.
fate points at this point.
And everybody's burnt through all their
wasn't
fate
meant to
points.
be.
The thing charges him again. He parries. He missed. The tyrant misses. The tyrant hits him again for more damage. He steps away again. The tyrant
Wow.
misses again. It's
awesome. Rolls like crap.
Still does nothing.
Oh, so many opportunities for glory. We couldn't pull it.
Meanwhile, the Andy's like, wait a minute. There's only like 8 magnitude left of these Termagants. They can't hurt me no matter what.
There you go. Now he's going to wait.
So now he's like, he runs in the direction. So he's like, I've got my claw. So the servo arm
That's a
backs
good one.
up. He starts running.
like a power fist.
The Zadkiel gets taken out. I think he got his head ripped off by the Hive Tyrant.
Nice.
Wait, I thought there
falls-
was a melt-a-bomb something in there.
Oh, no. You're absolutely right. Matt looks at me and goes, "Can I just ignite a melt-a-bomb?" I'm like, "You can."
Is that how he
but
died? That's awesome.
yes.
What a way to go.
So he takes out.
Oh, what a
for
Marine.
those of you listening along at home, a melt-a-bomb is actually a giant. Basically, it's like a shaped charge. It's not a
Nice.
grenade. It's a huge
right.
suitcase that
Like
you
a big
carry with
metal
you. It's
plate.
like a huge cylinder. So he pulls it out. He ignites it. He's like, "It's full action." He ignites it. He's like holding it when it explodes. It does like 6 D10 points of damage.
Wow.
The Hive Tyrant's still standing. He's little pieces all over the landscape. Lucian, the Tech Marine, runs around the corner, sees the crater. The Hive Tyrant wades through the fog. Shrieks again. Oh, I missed the shriek where it blew away all
Yeah,
your,
we had
all
no
your
cohesion. In the beginning of the game battle.
so
he
you
missed
couldn't
streak.
be in squad mode for the battle. He comes in and it's crazy. He rolls. He misses with his servo arm. I'm like, reroll. I don't have any fate points. Reroll. So he rerolls. He hits barely, and he's like, okay, damage. He rolls crappy. Andy, roll again. He's like, reroll again. So he rolls again. He just can't do it. The Hive Tyrant attacks. Hit. Dead. And then Matt's like, you weren't cheating though, because that first attack could have been his dagger. Like, yes, the Tech Marine could have taken a dagger to the Hive Tyrant. And so Lucian, the last man standing,
Total party wipe.
total party wipe. The final outcome: you killed over 100 magnitudes of Gaunts,
Nice.
3 warriors,
Yes.
and the Hive Tyrant was
And the Lictor.
down.
Don't forget the Lictor.
And the Lictor, but I mean in this battle
battle,
alone, the Hive Tyrant was down from 120 wounds to 14.
Nice.
So a few
So
more
5
die
Marines
rolls.
killed how many Termagants?
Over 100 Gaunts.
Over 100 Gaunts.
Magnitudes.
That's
of
awesome.
Gaunts.
And it was just
Okay.
meant to. I mean, if we just, any
None
of us were a
of us
little
were
better.
annoyed. We
Right.
weren't
No,
pissed.
it felt right because it was a Hive Tyrant.
Well, it felt
Well,
right. It felt right if 2 Marines would have died. Then it would have been like the novels,
Right.
in my
But-
mind.
but like
But the die rolling was awful.
But in my head, it was like 40K, and I
think-
saw the die rolls going badly. It was like
if
I
I
rolled
was
a 1 on my Artifice.
going back, I would have taken out the Tyranid as a GM. I would have taken out the Tyranid warriors and just had us face the Hive Tyrant with the Horde.
Yeah, but in my
Knowing
head,
what we know
you
now.
could have done it. I think if you had gone in through the door, and there were ways that I think you
have
could have
no
done it.
regrets.
No, I don't either.
My
I
only
don't
regret
either.
is because my death brings glory
Oh wait,
to the Emperor.
wait. If final outcome, and this is what you're about to talk about, the one thing that nobody did.
Well, this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I thought about this. I didn't want to do it then. I thought about this afterwards. Before we went in, we should have used your communicator to call the ship and say, we're about to go in. If the Emperor wills us not to return, do the following.
No, that
Send the
would've been-
following message that we definitely have a Xenos infestation and summon a battle barge with a full complement of battle barges to take this to cleanse this planet. Because by the time you get here, there's going to be a full-on Tyranid infestation you can be taken out. So we didn't do that. So we failed totally because if we died, we didn't tell anybody it was
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
So nobody
That was a big
knows. The
screw up.
Gladius is up there going, what?
And you had the comlink. We should have just done that, and it would have been the most conservative thing a Marine would have done in that scenario.
Yep.
Which is
Now
fine,
here's where we
but,
can
you
get
know,
the Dark Heresy team to go in, infiltrate
What?
as covert
Well, yeah.
operatives. Yeah, that'd be
You don't
cool.
infiltrate Tyranids.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say the one thing, even though we're running long, which is
Super long.
Dave and I were talking about, and Andy at Breakfast Gaming Club, like this is where the game would be cool. So now imagine the barn that we've all talked about when you guys met the demon. Imagine that your other character, your other team is a Deathwatch Space Marine. You hit that demon, you're like, oh my god, we got to get the hell out of here. Run, switch your characters. The kill team comes in. Not right that minute, I mean, but
Right.
how you can link the two
Yeah.
games
Yeah.
You
together.
can do different elements of the same story.
Yes.
from different perspectives, which
Yeah.
is really,
Correct.
really
Different
cool.
perspectives.
I think there's all
exactly.
kinds of options.
You could start it as a rogue rogue trader, which was just doing some business. He discovered the problem and he ran back.
Yep.
It was really
Yep.
cool. All kinds of neat stuff.
Yep. I like it.
So it was awesome.
So that
I had
was
a
our
great time.
first mission.
Yeah, that was fun.
Thanks for purchasing a D6G Lost Chapter. Supporting the show helps it grow.
Hey, what are we going to talk about today, Craig?
No.
What are you eating?
Nom 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 nom.
Nice.
It's like great value.
I love the acoustics in here. So
So the doctor went to the woman, giving her a breast exam, and said, "Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do is numb the area. Is that okay?" And she said, "Oh, of course, doctor." And so he went, "Num num 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 num."
we can't use that in the blooper.
Oh, we're going to put the explicit tag on it.
That's just not usable.
Oh, please, num 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 num.
Ooh, we can put this in the Codex episode because that's what people are paying for. People pay for that kind of entertainment.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's why we have to charge people for that kind of level of entertainment. We can't deliver that in the normal
right.
show.
That's right.
This is the D6G Unchained.
That's right. Uncensored, unrated.
What's the name? The Lost Library?
Lost Library, whatever. I don't know.